For centuries, Alderaan stood as a beacon of hope in the Republic. The Empire came.
I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan.
Peace while you suffer. The Emperor drowns you in black waters.
He wants me to be Darth Revan again. Serve him as I did centuries ago. He made me a Sith Lord and named me Darth Revan.
The Force does not control you. You saved humanity using something you thought was important. But your motives are still aligned with the Jedi Code.
To arms, men! Defend the throne!
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him. He was weak and foolish, like his father. So I destroyed him.
Master Windu, you have fought gallantly. Worthy of recognition in the archives of the Jedi. It is finished.
To them it is.
I have been waiting for you. Is it true that he is the chosen one?
It's Alex.
It's Harrison.
And welcome back to State of the Galaxy. We are back now.
What state it is in?
Okay. It's like you almost did a mic drop, but you drunk. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into some of the stuff that we could label as being the state of Star Wars right now. And I don't know if you made this connection, but I'm guessing it's in direct connection to what happened with Episode 8 and the terrible viewing figures for Solo. Now they've cancelled Kenobi and Boba Fett, which I mean I wasn't too fussed about Boba Fett. I was still looking forward to it. I thought it'd be pretty cool.
It'd be 90 minutes with him escaping the Sarlacc pit.
I saw that post, yeah, in real time. But no, I was more looking forward to Kenobi, especially if we were meant to be getting Ewan back and maybe even Qui-Gon as his Force Ghost. So yeah, I'm super sad about that. But you found something where they've speculated on putting on Disney's exclusive streaming service, right?
Hmm.
Was there any other information on that, or was that?
That was really the very faint trace of a sort of clue that I found.
Oh, okay. So there's nothing else.
There's
on
a
that.
rumour, but I suppose it's up in the air at the moment.
Because I saw that just while I was scrolling through YouTube just before we started, I saw that apparently Rian Johnson's standalone trilogy is meant to be starting around about 2020.
Oh, I heard his trilogy is going to get axed.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Wow.
So maybe he won't even get his own trilogy now.
I mean, obviously that's not surprising given the backlash of Star Wars Episode 8 and people's general impressions of Rian Johnson anyway.
They've got to play him on the back burner for a bit because obviously if they're like, oh yeah, Rian Johnson, just keep pumping out films,
people are going to hate it.
Give him a few years, then try again. That's what I reckon they'll do.
I mean, I hope in a way that they actually do that with Star Wars generally. Give it a few years and then start again.
Give you time to actually enjoy a new film before another one's
because that was the problem with Solo, that we barely finished ranting and raving about Star Wars Episode 8, whether we should have been doing that or not, and then Solo was on our doorstep. That's why no one knew that it was out because we were too busy.
It came out too near the Avengers as well.
Yeah, and Deadpool 2 and everything. So it kind of got overshadowed by everything, which is a real shame because now we can talk about Solo. It was a really good film.
You mean Swallow?
Swallow. I mean, I know that we're kind of at odds about this, of where it sits within our Star Wars lineup, but for me, it's just above Rogue One. I think with you, is it just under, or is there a couple of films in between?
Just under.
Okay, nice.
It was good, but Rogue One's still my favourite at the moment.
I think what really did it for me was I wasn't expecting it for it to be as dramatic as it was, because like all the stuff with Enfys Nest, if you listen to her soundtrack and stuff like that, it's a lot more dramatic than some of the stuff that we had.
It really feel like a Star Wars film, though.
No?
I don't think so. It felt more like a crime film.
Like I'm not.
Let's break the bank sort of film.
I know, but what do we label as a Star Wars film? As like a feel of a Star Wars film? Lightsabers. Okay. Yeah. We still got an appearance of one lightsaber, and the Force as well.
It's not the same. To have it as like characters other than Rogue One's cast, where it's not Force sensitive, I don't know. Kept thinking about Rogue One and thinking, this film, it's funny, but Rogue One, you know.
But I think you've got to reach the point where you branch out from those original recipes that made up Star Wars, and it's like, okay, so this is a completely different film within the universe that we love, and they're doing it differently. That's why I'm looking forward to the Game of Thrones creators and seeing what they come up with, because it's not going to be the original Star Wars recipe, but it's still going to be within the universe that we love, and some of the other stuff that we're meant to be getting as well. I think we need to branch away from that Star Wars recipe. They need to make a decision: either completely redo the films as they were, keep to the Star Wars recipe, and then annoy everyone like you did with Star Wars Episode 7, or you branch out completely and you recreate that recipe entirely within the same universe, like they did with Star Wars Episode 8. But I think that's why the clash was, because it was like, oh, we're going to copy all the films. Actually, we're going to do our own thing. You kind of need to decide which one you're going to do.
Before Episode 4 now as well. That's why I think Solo is below my Rogue One ranking.
Wait, what,
I just know Solo is before Episode 4 as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so
it should I feel like they should have done something between 4 and 5, or 5
but that was my original theory, had all of this not fallen apart, that we were going to get 3 before 4, between 3 and 4, and then so on and so on.
Or like start just at number 3 where it's like Jedi still being hunted and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see like the Jedi Purge Part 2, because then that would have been like the clones going out to far-flung worlds to find these Jedi, taking like the Inquisitors and occasionally Vader, like we're getting in the Marvel comics at the moment. But
that would be cool to see.
But yeah, no, it's Star Wars is a weird point at the moment. I think it's what we've seen this kind of stage before, perhaps not as bad as this, with other series where they've then just said, okay, we're not going to make any more films or any more episodes, and just wait for a bit. And that's why Doctor Who was so successful when it came back, because it's been such a long time. All the people that are nitpicked, I'm sure, around the time, because as far as time goes, you're going to have people that pick and stupid things. They'd all lost interest, died out, gone and targeted something else. And then you have the true core fans that are left, the ones that stay true, and they're like, oh wait, there's a new series that's coming out.
They've made all the modern ones available on iPlayer at BBC.
Yep, they sure have, and I think I must have flicked through those at least 3 times. But yeah, so I think that's, even if you do what they did where they bridged the gap between kind of like, I guess shortly after Episode 3 came out, a little bit longer than that, and then there was a gap, and then stuff with Rebels. So you had Clone Wars that bridged that kind of gap, and then you had Rebels shortly after.
Yeah. You
need something like that, because then you really they're trying to introduce a new generation, and as I'm sure Guy and my boss and various other people will continue to remind me, this is ultimately for kids. But that was a really good way of getting kids involved, and for keeping us entertained as core Star Wars fans, because we like Clone Wars, we like Rebels, and it's still brought in that new audience.
The only thing I don't like about Rebels is how they've animated the lightsabers.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I'll ever convince you about that. I think it's great.
They look too thin.
But they were trying to recreate. As I'm constantly saying, they're trying to recreate what the lightsabers look like in Star Wars.
Laser fencing sword.
Okay, but that's what they look like.
It doesn't look.
It's just keeping coherency within the universe. But
minor nitpick though.
I mean, my minor nitpick would be the fact that they can use lightsabers to fly.
Yeah.
But I mean, that shouldn't be possible.
They're not for crying out loud.
No, because they have no weight to them, so they shouldn't be able to do that.
No.
But I mean, maybe that's something, because I was talking to my friend Alice today, and we were talking about Harry Potter, and at the moment we're super hyped because at work we got the Harry Potter theme playing. We're going to get the new sets for Harry Potter and Harry Potter this and Fantastic Beasts. It's going to be great. But something I asked her was best and worst moment of Harry Potter. So for you, because we're not going to do like best and worst moment of Star Wars because it's too general. Best and worst moment of originals, best and worst moment of prequels, best and worst moment of a new trilogy, and then, because we're not too fussed about Rebels, best and worst moment about Clone Wars. So did you need some time to think, or...?
No, the worst moment of the prequels.
So let's start off with prequels then, best and worst moment of prequels.
Well, the worst moment is when C-3PO gets his head cut off.
Oh, not that whole thing.
Cheesy.
Okay, fair enough.
Like,
although saying that, I mean, I hated it. I think I hated it to start off with, but now I can't help but chuckle when he's doing like those puns when he's on the Geonosian arena, and he's like, I can't remember the. Oh, what's the first joke? Oh, this is such a drag, and he's like, I'm quite beside myself. Okay, fair enough. And best moment then of the prequels.
Another part from episode 2, when the clone army surges in. On
Oh well, when
on the
Yoda
stadium.
sails in as well.
It's a
the
big
gunships.
surprise.
Yeah,
When they're like running through the
when
stands.
no one hears them up until Padme's look, and they're like, "Oh, thank God we had
Like,
our ships."
they're
in
quite
stealth mode."
distinct, like humming noise. Then
Yeah.
AATs, isn't it? So you think, might hear them quite like thousands of them coming out.
I
And they're
can't wait,
running
I can't wait for like the recut and Dooku shouting because he
Look
can't.
out!
Master Windu, go
You
away!
fought valiantly.
Get out of here, you giant spaceships!
You're scrubbing Earth, it is.
They can't hear what I'm saying. But okay, fair enough.
Just watching clones actually do stuff is pretty cool. Like when
Yeah.
they're going through the
I think they must have
the
had like
dust and
2
stuff.
deaths in that
It's
Juno
amazing.
Tunic because there was one clone I don't think they got back on the gunship in time. There was one
No.
that died somewhere else. But okay, so best and worst moment of the originals then for you.
one of the worst moments. It's just young Luke. He's so bloody cringy. Like, I, really
I think it was
don't
just
like
the acting of the time though.
Before he becomes a Jedi, he's super cringy. It's like, you
My
fought in the Clone
friend said
Wars?
we were going to go and get some power
You
converters.
fought in the Clone Wars? Oh my god!
I think the cringiest line though is when he's talking to Owen and he says like, "You get these droids scrubbed up, Luke. Otherwise I'm going to smack you." And he's like, "But we're going to go to Toshi Station to get some power converters." But Mom,
You're not my dad.
why?
You're not my real dad.
My real dad, he has less limbs than you do. So okay, fair enough. And best moment.
Best moment has got to be watching the first Death Star blow up.
Okay.
That first
So
Death
well,
Star
like the
run
whole
was-
trench run and
Yeah, it was amazing.
that was pretty cool.
Like, well,
I
best
love that
scene,
theme
should we
tune.
say.
If you get that theme tune and listen to it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because it's very kind of Battle of Britain setting off, and then the actual run is very Battle of Britain.
I bet there's some sort of inspiration there.
I imagine so. I mean, there was enough World War II inspiration alone with the Galactic Empire being like the space Nazis.
Well, Vader literally means father, which is German as well. So
It does. Yeah.
wow.
Okay, so moving on. Best and worst moment of our current trilogy.
Oh, I don't know where to begin.
I mean, there are some really good moments. There's one that
I-
would stand out for me.
Although
and
it's
it's from Star Wars
sad.
Episode 8.
I actually think one of the best moments is Harrison Ford's ending.
Oh,
It's
okay.
very, very touching.
I
Like,
think
I cried like a baby in that cinema.
I didn't
like,
cry,
when I
but
first saw it.
but my heart stopped. Even though, because I knew it was going to happen, because I found the leak and they depicted how it was going to
I
happen.
read
So I
that he was
knew.
going to get decapitated at first.
Oh no! I just heard that he was going to get like stabbed and then he'd fall off a balcony, which then
So
ended up
sad.
in the bridge.
And worst moment has just got to be the entirety of episode 8.
Wow! Someone's changed
It's
their
really-
tune.
The more I
2
think
weeks.
about it, the more I just can't decide.
Ouch!
I rewatched it on Netflix the other day.
Is it
and
on
I just-
Netflix?
I'm just not amused anymore.
Wow, that was quick.
I was like, no, can't do this. I didn't even finish it.
Ouch!
I was like, no,
Wow!
I really wasn't entertained.
Jeez. Okay, so
Yeah.
best and worst moment of Clone Wars.
Well, one of the best episodes is that Battle on the Night Planet. That was really cool.
Oh, what, the one with General Crow?
Yeah, and Barbara. That was good.
Um,
And
but best moment, would it be the one where they start like killing their own brothers? 'Cause
that was very powerful.
That was so powerful.
When he goes, we found the platoon leader, and he goes, it's Waxer, sir, and he's like,
Actually, no.
when you see him in the first season with Boyle as well, you think, what happened to Boyle? Did he die? Where is he? And it's like, where's Boyle, man? And then when you see him from progression from the first series, and they pop up again in the second Battle of Geonosis,
Yeah.
and then they just in Burrow, and he ends up dying of like, I don't actually know what he dies of because his armor wasn't scorched. Did he die of a broken heart like Padme? Like,
we know
with him?
that everyone dies of a broken
There was
heart,
like
mate.
no
I mean,
damage
so-
on his armor.
like that's like the new, I don't know, like evil disease of the
Yeah.
Star Wars universe. Is just
Like,
dying of a broken
If
heart.
there's like a scorch mark where it would have got a shot or something, I can understand. But there was like no actual damage on his armor.
That's
It was just sad.
I don't know what to
Or
tell
when
you.
99, when that 99 does as well, that is touching.
that was very sad. That
He's
was,
like, I'll get you some ammo.
oh, it
He
sucks.
gets shot like 8 times.
That was awful.
Like-
Because didn't they do like a Felucia where they just like continue
Yeah,
to
and he's
shoot
like,
his body?
I'm a soldier like you, and he just
That
gets
really
taken out.
sucks. So okay, so that's best moment. What about worst? I know one. There's one for me because it just I hate the episode.
That entire episode where that weird little droid guy, weird little guy who sits in an astromech with
Oh,
Patrick
that
Wilson,
episode was so boring.
cringy. Or the one where C-3PO is treated like a god. That was cringy as well. He finds
Yeah.
out them weird water welling people.
Oh, is that the one where they like accidentally squidge him or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So for me, I'm going to start off with Clone Wars. Best moment would be the fight with Darth Sidious against Savage Opress and Darth Maul,
amazing.
because that's a great fight, great soundtrack, and it's just beautifully choreographed. And then worst moment would have to be basically anything from that episode with Jar Jar on the Rhodian planet with Padme, and he's pretending to be a Jedi, and I hate that episode so much. I don't even know what the message is at the end, because like most Clone Wars episodes have a big kind of heartfelt message. But was it like trust your friends so you can then befriend a giant green banana slug? Okay. So prequels for me. Ooh, I mean, I guess I'd probably have to choose my best moment being my favourite quote, which would be to be angry is to be human.
How did I guess that one coming?
Because all I do is talk about that. And then worst moment. I think it would either have to be when baby Anakin's talking to C-3PO about leaving, and he just does it in such a jerky way. Well, 3PO, I've been freed. I'm going away on a starship.
No, another one's when he goes to Padme. Are you an angel?
Well,
it's like super cringe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cringy lines.
It's like, how do you know what an angel is? There's no religion in Star Wars like that.
But also the look that Shmi Skywalker gives to Qui-Gon, and then like the music that you can hear in the background. I know it's leading into Darth Maul's landing on Tatooine, so I don't know if that was just like an overlap. But it's almost like she was suspecting him of darkness. It was like, what's he doing? He's doing nothing. He's testing his blood. Is that okay? Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't sit well for me. I suppose also you've got like Mace Windu's A Sith Lord, which I guess was written by a 2-year-old and probably executed by Mace Windu's left cheek. You put like zero effort into that line delivery. And then the originals, I think probably worst moment for me. See, I'm going to be a little bit naughty, and I'm going to bring in, I know, and I'm going to bring in remasters. And my worst moment, worst moment is when Darth Vader throws the Emperor down the shaft. But they put in the no, and I thought that was unbelievably unnecessary. Why would you do it again? People hated it in the prequels. Why would you do it again?
No.
It's dumb. But then my favourite moment, and almost in the same scene, is when Luke's fighting Vader on the second Death Star, and that music and just the choreographing and how Luke was just wailing at his father, and I just love that piece of music. I think it's Battle of Endor Part 2. I think I put it in my Star Wars questionnaire. And then Star Wars, our new trilogy, best moment would have to be Holdo's sacrifice, because that was epic. I know, okay, fine, yeah, you know, if you look into more Holdo and you realise what the purpose of Holdo was and stuff like that.
She's a throwaway character.
She's a throwaway character, but she was also there to make a point, with a point that was annoying. And, okay, whatever. And obviously she didn't tell Poe Dameron the plans, and she just generally delayed the plot. But that was a really cool sacrifice.
Yeah.
The cinematography was amazing, and it just was brilliant. Obviously, it raised a lot of questions, like why have they never done this in the past? Why did they throw away their ship? Yeah, okay, fair enough. But
the better got as it is.
But you like the bad balances, the good balances out some of the bad. It was a cool scene to watch. If you don't consider any of the other stuff, I know that's not how a film works. You can't, because that'd be like saying that episode 1's amazing if you tear out pretty much the entire film apart from Duel of Fates and maybe pod racing.
Because her ship had a lot of cannons on it that they could have used. So
Did it have that many cannons on it?
They're what do you call it? I can't think what model class it is.
Was it Radis?
Yeah, they're quite heavy hitters.
Are they?
Yeah.
I saw like 0 cannons on that hull.
They're tucked in. I'm sure they're tucked in. I'm sure they retract.
And the worst moment, also from Star Wars Episode 8, and it's something that I've been thinking about recently. I'm sure there are other moments, like the cow milking scene, or pretty much every moment with Luke and various other annoying stuff. But the moment that really irritates me, because it's tactically unsound, was when Captain Caddy was like, "There's their ship. They're all escaping there. Let's target their planet. Planet's not going anywhere. Base isn't going anywhere. Target their ship. They're escaping in that. Why are we shooting at the base?"
If the Radis class ship blew up, I'm sure it'd be like a massive reactor explosion. It'd probably wipe out the escaping shuttle.
Exactly. So it's tactically sound to shoot at them, and obviously they did the annoying cinematic thing where like, oh, they're just about to fire, and then they drop the bombs and they destroy the Dreadnought class Star Destroyer.
That went down incredibly easy as well. Where are its shields, man?
Oh, I know.
I was just shooting.
They seem to
turrets
forget
off,
about
like-
shields quite a lot.
Like, you're
in
just
that-
shooting them off.
in
It's
that-
like,
in
where are the
that,
shields?
in that universe. I mean, obviously, you could argue exactly the same thing about the A-Wing that took out the
Yeah.
Superstar Destroyer.
Like, where's the shields, man? We don't have any shields.
We don't have any shields. Why? Because plot demands it.
Imperials.
Because shut up.
Imperial dogs.
So okay, so we're gonna do kind of like an adaptation of what we did last time with the kind of like love, hate, kill or whatever we did, but instead now we're gonna do watch continuously, watch once, and destroy. So I'm gonna give you the 3 films or 3 bits of Star Wars content. You've got to decide which one you would watch or repeat, which one you would watch once and never again, and which one you would destroy. So Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, or Clone Wars.
You evil
I
guy.
know.
Three of my favourite things.
I thought that was quite good. So you have to destroy them.
So much to choose from. If I destroy it, do I at least still remember it? It's not like you destroy it, you forget all about it.
I'll say for being kindness, yes, you will remember it, but it won't exist anymore.
Rogue One I watch all the time.
I think that's worse if you remember it, but like it doesn't exist in the Star Wars timeline anymore. This thing's gone.
Clone Wars I'll watch once.
Okay.
And Revenge of the Sith I've watched enough that I remember it and it can bite the bucket.
Okay.
Because Clone Wars is like so much content.
Yeah,
as well.
you could wipe out
like,
quite a lot of
that
time.
a lot.
Just watch
That's
that.
like 60 hours probably at least.
Yeah, especially if we talk like all the discontinued stuff and like
Yeah.
season 6 and whatnot.
Okay,
Okay.
let me do the choice this time.
Okay.
Return of the Jedi,
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back,
Ouch.
Solo. Yeah, too bad game.
Oh, I hate you so much. That's annoying.
Smoking gun put away.
Okay. I'm gonna say I'm actually gonna be like really against myself right now, and I'm gonna say Return of the Jedi watch continuously, Empire watch once, and Solo destroy. Because it's only been on this earth for like a couple of months. I think
like
I can
5
live.
minutes.
I think I can live
Netflix.
without it. Because I know Return of the Jedi. I mean, same as Empire. It's like halfway through a story, but I just love Return of.
Empire was the best.
Empire was the best. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But Jedi had not only my favourite piece of music of all Star Wars history, but it also had the nicest roundup. It just felt nice. I mean, with Empire, it was like a continuing struggle with the rebels. It was always a continuing struggle with the hero. But in Jedi, the hero had found his own, and you had the Emperor, and the Emperor was having so much fun with his role. And I just love. I don't even think the Ewoks really annoy me with that.
Not as much as the Porgs annoy me.
Fair. I'm
It's
going to say
another
you're a Paul
annoying
Gator
marking
then.
creature.
Yeah, I really, really like Jedi. I don't think I say it enough. I really like Jedi. I think that's something that we need to start doing on the podcast. Maybe it will help us get more of a theme going, where we just, in our own time, watch a Star Wars film. We just talk about it. Because I know lots of Star Wars podcasts, they analyse characters, so we should really do the same thing. But they don't really talk about films.
Let's analyse scenes instead.
Let's analyse scenes instead.
Scene stealers.
No, don't talk about that. I have done scene stealers. It's a lot of work. So here's something. How about this? What is something for you that you reckon is quite a universally appreciated thing or a universally appreciated decision in the Star Wars universe that personally annoys you? So you're like the odd one out in this. Because lots of people do have odd nitpicks because it's what makes us human. We all have different.
Just how completely underrated Boba Fett is. I mean, he
Okay.
has a lightsaber on his hip. He's killed like loads of people, killed Jedi, killed all sorts of things,
Yeah,
and yet he goes out in such a poncery, stupid way.
it is. He does.
Like,
go
if
out
he's as
quite-
skilled as he should be, he should have been able to survive that quite easily and just not fall in a bloody Sarlacc pit.
I think that's a decision that I always reflect on whenever I look at Phasma, because Phasma was set up almost in exactly the same way as Boba Fett was, but once again she's just a character that looks interesting and mysterious, but ultimately goes out like a punk.
I mean, I hope if she's in episode 9, I hope she's a really good role.
Yeah.
Not like a
Where she
pansy
come-
pushover.
I would like her to team up with Hux.
Yeah.
I think Eleanor and I have talked about this in the past because they have had history. I know you can't dig up the exact details of the history because it hasn't been specified within the films, but you could at least say that they form an alliance because it's clear that Hux isn't happy about Kylo being in charge now, and Phasma's just an indifferent tool.
She's first order to her core, isn't she?
Yeah. So so long as she has troops by her side, she doesn't really care.
I still want to know why she has fancy armour and no one else does. She's only a captain. I don't know why
I'm
she
sure
puts
it would be
armour.
answered by the book, but I don't have the heart to be able to read it.
No.
Apparently it's good, but I don't know. I think I've been put off enough by
I
the
think it's
character.
like a reason, like it's a reward for extremely good service, or like saving Snoke's life in some way. Maybe like, here, have this fancy suit of armour, you know,
Yeah.
or like, here, let's highlight that you're female.
You say that, but there's a female stormtrooper that comes up to Kylo, and you wouldn't be able to tell unless
No.
you just heard her voice.
It's just a bit like, well, what's the point, you know?
I think for me, something that I dislike and lots of people like.
No, there's one you like and a lot of people dislike.
What's that?
Racial Gungans.
Eh?
Racist Gungans. I was trying to say about saying.
Why do I
racist.
like Gungans?
You like when they do the
I like the king because he does that, and I
Yeah.
think it's funny. But
a lot of people hate it.
okay, but it's not. I don't think it's an element of Star Wars where I'm like, I wish this was in it more. I wish we would cut away from
The lies of
Obi-Wan
the Jedi.
strolling around Kamino and Anakin on Naboo to him just sitting alone in his chamber and would randomly have like a seizure fit where he'd go, "Rah!" and then would just get on with his day. But that'd be a really weird cut.
Someone beats his Candy Crush high score and he's just a freak out.
I think for
Oh, is
me,
a bigger fish?
I think for me it would be Star Wars Episode 7 because lots of people really like it, but I just despise
But
it.
you like Episode 8, I don't understand.
I don't like Episode 8. I'm indifferent. I don't hate it. I don't like it. It's just meh.
But you talk of it in more positive light than you did Nick Flight.
Because I'm trying my best to see the positives here. I'm being that one person in a universe of otherwise very angry Star Wars fans that can see some good in it. Obviously, there's a lot of bad, but I'm not going to say that there's no good in it because there is a lot. I think I'm looking at it from a filmmaker's perspective, and I would hate to be an animator or a concept artist or a storyboarder or anyone that wasn't a main cast member or director or producer that worked on that film and then had this amount of hate for the film, because you'd feel like you're partly responsible. If you took any pride in your work, you wouldn't feel any pride for it because it's a universally hated film. But yeah, no, I don't like Episode 7 just because it felt like and I don't like the characters. I think that's what really got me, because you can say, oh, but it doesn't really matter about the characters because, you know, all the pretty scenery and stuff, but it does matter about the characters because they're the ones who are carrying the story. It doesn't matter if Jakku looks cool and that, you know, Tandoka or whatever it was, that's a Doctor Who reference, I think, but the planet that Maz comes from that looks interesting with all the different banners and stuff, and Starkiller Base could be Ilum and stuff like that. You know, you look into that too deeply, I'm sure you'll find good stuff, but as a core, it's a boring film and it has the same annoying characters
I do
that
like
we didn't
Finn
need.
running away from the Empire. That's from the
Yeah,
first
I mean,
one,
it
but
was interesting to see.
I just don't like.
It was
the
interesting
actors.
to see a
Yeah.
grey in an otherwise, up until this point, a black and white universe where you either follow one side or you follow another. At this point, we now had a faction, be it a faction that was made up by one guy that defected but didn't really know where he was until near to the end of Star Wars Episode 7. Yeah, so fair enough. I'm pretty sure there are some
I felt
good
it was-
good elements of Star Wars Episode 7.
It was
I'm
bad
pretty sure I
as
can
well
think of
how
them.
He worked maintenance, yet he knew how to get into the reactor.
That's what annoyed me. I think that's something, if we
That's a
rewatch
stupid plot hole.
if we rewatch Star Wars Episode 7, that's something that I bring up. There are some things that really irritate me there. Like, the mission that they led on Jakku, why did they go to Jakku at the very beginning of the film? Because they thought they would find the map to Skywalker. So they should send the most elite of the elite.
Yeah, not basic.
Not
stormtroopers.
basic, well, okay, fine, whatever. But they also send someone who clearly works in sanitary, and it's not like he just did it for a day, because it then comes up later in Star Wars Episode 8. He did work in
Yeah, but
sanitary.
if he works in sanitary, well, the rest of his unit's sanitary as well.
I hope
like,
not, because then that just
were they running
shows
out
how
of-
much the civilians
Were
suck.
they running out of troops enough that they had to even send in the sort of
I don't know,
reserves, you
because like that's what really is bizarre. What were the rest of them just standing on Starkiller Base waiting for Hux to make his very angry
Obviously,
speech?
the Yusong Vong happens after Episode 6, isn't it? So that
It
took a
does,
lot-
but then that's all on canon now.
that took a lot of the Empire stuff at first. So
It did, but remember, not canon anymore.
Yeah, but still.
Because
There
the
must be
Yuuzhan
some
Vong,
sort of-
the Yuuzhan Vong eventually destroyed Coruscant, more or
Yeah.
less.
So,
But-
shame they took that out of canon.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that obviously we're sad that they took out of canon. But yeah, no, like I said, I'm pretty sure there are some good stuff that I could find in Star Wars Episode 7 that I'd like. I like all the stuff with Jakku. I thought Jakku was interesting, and like the remnants of the last fight between the True Empire and the Rebellion. And
Isn't that sort of touched upon in Star Wars Battlefront 2 as well, isn't it?
yeah, and
Which is pretty cool.
and just like all the different aliens that we saw, and I like Mars's castle, and I enjoyed some other stuff, I'm sure, but
Because they say Jakku is where the Empire finally ended, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting place.
but
What I found annoying was why the First Order didn't come back and salvage their own bloody ships.
yeah.
Because there was a lot of, like, that Star Destroyer that was just sort of sitting there in the sand. Wasn't the only one.
No,
So you'd think there's a lot of scrap metal there they could
I mean,
use for...
I think there was actually a super there.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that was what the Falcon flew through.
Yeah.
Because whatever those engines were, they were way too big to be destroyers.
You'd think the First Order would come back and salvage the metal.
Mm.
Especially when they're making stuff like Starkiller Base and other big installations. You think metal's not exactly... Like, big quantities of it aren't exactly easy to find without making it. And
No.
increasing production time and stuff.
But there was something that kind of... I don't know if it really retconned the Battle of Jakku, but did you see... I'm guessing you've seen that animated fan thing that they did where they recreated how Star Wars Episode 7 was meant to start. Have you not seen that?
No.
I'll see if I can find it for you at some point. But it has two... they look like Tantive IV ships, and they're using tractor beams to drag along an old destroyer that's been like blasted through the centre with what looks like a Mac cannon, and then they just release it over Jakku, and it falls into
Okay.
the atmosphere and then crashes, and then it opens up with Rey pulling back the panel, and the film goes on. But there was one more thing I wanted to bring up before we finish up this episode, and it's a bit of news that's been flying around. I don't know if you've seen it, about the independent group of people who have been claiming to be filmmakers, and they have been asking for public funding in order to recreate Star Wars Episode 8. What do you think?
If they're going to recreate it, do it properly.
But I don't think they should do it. I think at this point...
Leave it. There's always one bad film in a
Yeah,
series.
I think you should just kind of own it.
Sometimes two or three.
Because Star Wars Episode 1 was bad, Star Wars Episode 2 has some really bad parts, and I think you just need to kind of own it.
Yeah.
You messed up. Don't try and act like it didn't happen. Apparently Disney are actually supporting this. They're not putting money into it, but they're openly like drawing attention to this. So if you're going to draw attention to this and then be all upset when people hate Ryan Johnson and stuff,
they draw
you're
attention to
stabbing yourself in the back. Either shut this down or just don't acknowledge it at all.
They'll draw big attention to it, and then they'll sue them for copyright and plagiarism right near the end. Like, you've rewritten the whole story for us, we'll take that, thank you, and all your money.
But I just...
That's a bad idea. Just move, if in a way, if you have The Last Jedi being a crap film, makes the other two in the series actually probably look really good.
Yeah,
Like-
and I'm sure like Episode 9...
And the other 6 films look alright.
Even if Episode 9 doesn't run the way that we even think it could do, I'm sure that I still have some hope that Ryan Johnson, even though this is now JJ taking over, obviously they will like talk to each other. Hopefully they'll talk to each other, please. Ryan Johnson has this habit of having some unanswerable questions and having some parts that seem bizarre, and then it all makes sense in the grand scheme of things. Like, I'm hoping that it'll make sense of the mirror scene. I'm hoping it'll make some sense of some of the other stuff that happened. Because otherwise, yeah, it's just a bad film. But if they make sense of some of it, then it'll... That's why I'm still reluctant to put it in a lineup.
It was the other one cool part of it was seeing how Luke was obviously afraid of Kylo.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've seen this kind of power before. Well, that scene was kind of interesting, like the flashback where he was going to kill Kylo and he chose against it.
Because
And
wasn't his
obviously,
wife meant to be in the temple as well?
Mara Jade was meant to be there, yeah.
Not Mara Jade. Because in the deleted scenes of Star Wars Episode 4, there's a woman there, and I think Disney have now said that that woman became like Luke's love interest in between films.
Oh, okay.
And she was supposedly in that, obviously citation needed, ship that she was in that temple when it went up, and you hear a female scream when the temple goes up, and that may have been her. Again, I don't know. But, I mean, that's something, because, I don't know, with Star Wars Episode 4, I mean, I'd probably be best to leave some of this for our actual Star Wars Episode 4 breakdown, but, in short, Luke would have reacted the way that he did more justifiably had he lost someone that he truly loved within that temple crash. You could argue that he did lose two people at the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4, i.e. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, but we already saw that he didn't have a particularly strong relationship with them. He was a rebellious teenager that wanted to go off and do his own thing, and he was very cold with them. He was very cold with them, wasn't he? Like, even Beru, who was probably the nicest out of the two, he was just like, oh, I'm going nowhere, I'm just going off to clean some droids.
Maybe
he was very
it's
cold with
a
them.
frustration that he knew he wouldn't. Before Obi-Wan come along and was like, yes, you're a Jedi, Luke. He would have never left Tatooine. And
Yeah.
that miserable life there every day.
But he openly said there's nothing left. He got over it very quickly. It was like, there's nothing left for me now. It's like,
Maybe just
dude,
compartmentalised
they're still smouldering over there. You probably roast a good marshmallow on them still. But each their own.
Well, I mean, he's watched a lot of his friends leave and go join the rebellion. And all
Yeah,
that
but
sort of
I
stuff.
generally don't think he was, because he didn't look that cut up about the fact that they died.
Well, they were his adopted parents, really. weren't
Yeah,
they?
I know,
So
but they were the only parents that he'd ever known.
he probably just
Because
did this anyway.
somehow Leia still had memory of her mother, despite the fact that being brother and sister, the mother died at the same time for both of them. But
Yeah.
she somehow had memory, and Luke says in Jedi, I have no memory of my mother, I never knew her. So these are the only parents he's ever known. And at this point, I don't know,
Maybe Leia was told
does he
about
know
her
them
mother.
as mother and father? No, because he says Uncle Owen.
Maybe he know. Maybe
No,
Leia
'cause he
knows
his
about
father. Yeah.
Padme from Bale, because obviously he was really close to her before she died as well, wasn't it? Maybe he told her stuff and she just remembers that.
Yeah, like where you, as a kid you hear things and they become your memories just because you're so young. Stuff gets a bit mixed. Fair enough. That's a good point to.
You wouldn't remember something being pretty much like barely born,
No,
and she never knew her after that. So I don't think.
I think that's a good way of plugging that kind of plot hole, because otherwise it is a plot hole. Like, you're right, you wouldn't remember.
Bale probably told her stuff when she's grown up and asking questions like,
Yeah.
"How comes I don't look like you guys? Because you both look Spanish." You know, like. So I mean, it's like
Yeah.
there's probably some sort of questions like guys obviously care less about it, but girls are a bit more bothered with their like lineage. From my personal experience.
No, fair enough. Well, we'll wrap up this episode, and maybe within the next few weeks we'll watch some Star Wars films, come back, and we'll have a look. We'll have a bit of a talk and
Yeah.
really kind of home in on a specific Star Wars film, because I think that might be quite interesting.
If we're gonna do it this way,
Yeah.
we have to start at the beginning and work our way up from
He
one to
does it.
one to eight.
Oh, I hate you so much.
I know. We might as well. What's the point of not doing it in order?
Because you
And we can.
because you refuse to do it in the way that everyone else does it.
How does everyone else do it?
4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, the new trilogy.
Why would we do it that way then? That's kind of that is in order.
No, it's
Order,
not.
Yeah, order of release.
Yeah, it's order of release.
We can do that if you want. We'll just
Because
go
it just
for the
feels nicer. Because then you do like Darth Vader, and then you're like, ooh, who's this person who's now redeemed themselves? Now we'll go back. Obviously, we have to get through all the baby Anakin shizer, but then we can.
If that's the way you want to do it, we'll do it that way.
It's flashback. It's good.
Alright.
Um,
Play ball.
cool. So whether you are Jedi or Sith, whether you are Republic or CIS, whether you are First Order or Resistance, Rebel Scum, Empire, we hope you have a very good day, evening, whatever you're doing. May the Force be with you, and we will see you guys hopefully next week.